Hey guys, yeah, I'm just walking home from the bus stop on Merced Eucalyptus while I do this. But I was thinking about this while I was working today, believe it or not. And don't worry, it didn't interfere with my job. I was just thinking about it, and I kind of thought, it would be interesting to talk about this. So here we go. With Disney, kind of in a reboot-like mood at times, or a soft rebooted continuation-like mood, when it comes to, and somebody just let off a big boom. Sorry about that, somebody just let off a big boom. I don't know if somebody's tire just went flat or something, but I could hear that from where I was. Anyway, like I was saying, Disney seems to be kind of in a mood of rebooting, or softly rebooting, continuing, if you will, some of the classic shows, live action or animated, mostly animated. And one of the shows that they did this to, kind of reboot and all that, and pay tribute to the originals, was Ducktales. Yeah, they rebooted Ducktales for a new generation, as well as at times take an opportunity to pay homage, pay homage, if you will, and tribute to the original Ducktales and Disney Afternoon, where this reboot was inspired from. And in this reboot, we saw, plenty of Disney Afternoon elements thrown, entirely without the show. One that surprised a lot of people at the end was during the Darkwing Duck centered episode, two-part special episode, where there's a scene where they're looking over what the Fearsome Five, or the Fearsome Trio, if you will, of Megavolt, Bushroot, and Crackerjack are doing to the city. And one of the citizens or people that they're screwing around with, that being the villains, is Bonkers. That's right. Bonkers actually made his return in the new DuckTales series. And it got a lot of people talking because, that's the last person, you would expect to make a return, seeing as though Bonkers was always looked at as being very controversial because of the fact that a lot of fans felt Bonkers was, two things. There was two things that Bonkers was, always, held accounted for. One, being a rip-off, Disney-inspired rip-off of Roger Rabbit, and two, because he caused the Rescue Ranger series, the original Rescue Ranger series, to be taken off the air, or taken off the Disney Afternoon lineup. Well, first of all, when it comes to Bonkers being a Roger Rabbit-like rip-off or inspired show, the original plan for Disney was to do Roger Rabbit, but they couldn't, work out an agreement at that time to make something like that occur. The other thing about him being responsible for Rescue Rangers being off the Disney Afternoon, the thing is, what people seem to always forget is it was a yearly rotation. Whenever a new show would basically debut as part of Disney Afternoon, and basically be aired on the tail end, of the block, then the older series out of the entire block, the one that's at the start of it, usually gets pushed off. Usually has to be removed and replaced. So, for example, when Disney Afternoon debuted, it was Gummy Bears that was the oldest show that started things off, kicked the block off, if you will, and it was Tailspin being the newest one that ended it. And every year, the same thing would occur. When, Darkwing Duck debuted, Gummy Bears was knocked off and Ducktales, the original Ducktales, took its place. When Goof Troop debuted, Ducktales was taken off and Rescue Rangers took its place, and so on. That's what they did. That's what they did. Anyway, like I said, it would be that kind of way. So Bonkers, when he debuted, Rescue Rangers was the oldest. Tailspin was the second oldest. Tailspin took the spot of Rescue Rangers when Bonkers debuted, and there you go. So I think that's one thing fans forget about Bonkers, or about the Disney Afternoon, is the oldest show would always, begin the block, and the newest one would end it. And after a year, when a newer show would become part of the block, then the older show from the previous year gets knocked off in place by the show that aired second, after it, and thus that became the older show. But why do I bring all this up? Well, like I said, it got me thinking. It got me thinking of, what if Disney decided to reboot Bonkers for a new generation? What would it be like? What would its setting be? Well, I think honestly, just my opinion, I think I know exactly what its setting would be. I believe for the reboot, the setting would actually be kind of in the world established with the DuckTales reboot. It would be basically set in that world. Now, you might ask, well, how does he become a cop? How does this happen? And to me, like I said, to me, how this happens is you can kind of follow a similar trend. Bonkers and his friends are actors on a show, and basically what happens is you could tie into the modern situation of a lot of shows getting canceled when they lose their popularity. So you could play into the fact that Bonkers and his friends have been doing this thing of having a phenomenal hit show and a franchise for a while, and then all of a sudden they find out that they're going to get canceled, and they got one more season to work with. And what happens? What happens? I'll tell you what happens. Bonkers and his friends, they get let go. They get let go. And now they have to look for work. But do we follow the same storyline we did before? Do Bonkers and his friends get kidnapped by the Collector? Well, that's what I would change a bit. See, what I would change basically with that situation is I would bring the Collector in, but only after Bonkers and his friends stop a robbery. Where they see basically a group of people getting robbed, kind of at a park or at a store, whatever the situation you want to go with. They prevent the robbery, they stop the robbers, they do kind of a citizen's arrest. And just like in the original show, this gets the attention of the police chief. And the police chief basically hears what the witnesses, and especially those that Bonkers and his friends helped save, how they were able to take down the cops. And maybe you can showcase, what the people, the witnesses would describe to the cops. Like, you could see Fawn probably doing a toss, like a karate toss on somebody and such. You could see Bonkers kind of using his own little techniques to help out. All that kind of jazz. All that kind of jazz. And then as a result, they get a chance to become cops. Like, hey, you lose one good job, but all of a sudden, boom, out of nowhere, because you did a citizen's arrest, you came to defense of people about to be hurt and robbed. You get an opportunity to, have a newer, you get an opportunity with this newer job, and it turned out to be even more better than the original, because not only do you get good pay, probably more so than you thought, and all these opportunities and benefits, but you potentially get to go and have adventures almost every day. But would it just be bonkers? But would it just be bonkers, I should say? Not exactly, because you gotta pay attention. I said them. I kind of explained certain characters having a moment. And I think the characters that I think should go for the officer drive would be Bonkers, Fawn, and Jitters. I think Jitters would be great. For him, from a character standpoint, you can have it be, sort of a development for him to get over certain fears and to develop courage. And with Fawn and Bonkers, you can help it showcase Fawn being, well, basically what, and I say it with all due respect, how a lot of women are viewed today, as strong, independent, able to take care of herself, and such. And Bonkers, you could show him still, living up to his name, being a little bonky and all that, but also at times taking things seriously. Like, hey, his name might be Bonkers, and he might like to have some crazy fun at times, but he also knows when to take things seriously. So you can get some good character development out of those three. If in my opinion, if they were to be the ones to be cops, then I would go with it. I would go with that, and I would make them a team too. I really would. As far as basically, let's say, Bonkers and Fawn's romance goes, I would also use this to develop that. Because we know in the show, in the original show, and even the He's Bonkers cartoons, that there was always hints of them, not just hints, but strong indications that they had a thing for each other, not just, on screen during their acting days, but even off. So for me, I would use this opportunity, with them being cops and everything, and even before they become cops, to really focus on the relationship. Focus on why they, care about each other, why they, are attracted to each other. And as they become cops, help them become supportive of each other and their friends. And by doing so, you can build that relationship into something more, more genuine, more relatable, and you can even use it to build up to the first true on-screen kiss. I mean, we've seen it several times, like I say, with the He's Bonkers shorts and everything, but we've never seen it outside of that. Here, you could actually do that. You can actually do that, and to me, I think it would make things, like I said, more relatable, more genuine, and as you're building up to it from a story standpoint, it would become more anticipated by the audience, because the audience knows you're going to get to that moment, and when you finally do, it'll be a moment that would get people talking. It would get people talking. So I think from a romantic standpoint, it would really help build that romance and make it feel more genuine and real and relatable than before. Overall, when I look at Bonkers as a potential reboot Disney could do, I look at all these things that I've just mentioned and more. I look at all these possibilities that I just mentioned and more, and I think without a shadow of a doubt that under the right hands, in the right hands, it can be done. And I think the right people to do it, from a creative standpoint, the right people to do it, is the people behind the Owl House. I mean, no offense to the people behind Amphibia or Gravity Falls, but I think the people behind the Owl House would be the best option, in my opinion. I mean, look at the support they're getting right now, even with the Owl House in its final run, so to speak, as we speak, as this video is going on. But yeah, I definitely would say use the creative people behind the Owl House to do it. But overall, like I said, I think, I'm not saying the people behind Amphibia or, and behind Amphibia or Gravity Falls wouldn't do a good job, but I think the people behind the Owl House would probably, bring more life into this than those other two, in my opinion. So overall, guys, those are just my thoughts on what I think a potential Disney's reboot on Bonkers could be. What are your thoughts? How do you feel about it? Do you agree with my choice of people that could be chosen to write it, putting it to life, as well as the scenarios I brought up for it? What are your thoughts? Comment below, live chat during the premiere, like the video, check me out at my Teespring store. Super thanks for being enabled after the video. Live chat will have super